Okay, if we come back together again, you'll see that we have been swelled from speakers to a broader panel, and I'm going to give our two fresh faces the opportunity to offer just a comment. Then I'd like to throw it open if you've got a question, particularly around this issue, vision to reality. We're going to talk about consumers and more about that interface after the break. But particularly if either you've got a comment or a challenge or a question to our panel, then we'll see whether we can come to you. But first of all, I'm delighted that we're joined, added to our panel, and Daniel Calleja, who's the Director General from DG Enterprise at the European Commission. I know you've got a full day, but thank you very much for coming through to be with us, because you have a very significant interface with many of the businesses here and indeed with AISE. And it would be interesting, apart from wishing us a happy 60th birthday, if you just wanted to offer maybe just a couple of perspectives about what's happening within DG Enterprise, particularly with respect to that sustainability agenda. We expect Commissioner Potočnik to be pushing hard on this. What's coming up in the Enterprise DG world that should make us open our eyes and feel encouraged or nervous? Over to you.
Well, good afternoon to all of you. Thank you very much. I was going to start saying happy birthday, happy 60th birthday. You are a little bit older than the European Commission, not so much. I wanted also to wish you happy St. Nicholas. I got a little present, sustainable, at the entrance. And the third thing I wanted to say is I am very happy to be with you, because before joining the European Commission, I started my career in the soap business. So
Very good.
I don't know if I did a mistake to change to the European Commission, but it makes me younger to come and to participate in this meeting. I will be very brief, because I think that the key challenge that we have in Europe from the perspective of our industry is competitiveness, its growth, and its jobs. And if you look at the mission which we are supporting in DG Enterprise, it's mission growth. There's nothing more important now in Europe to come out of the crisis than to develop a competitiveness, a strong, performant industry that can deliver growth and jobs. And to do that, we need to do two things. First, rely very strongly on innovation. The key strength that Europe has is that we are leading. We have excellent leading innovative industries, particularly in your sector, and you have shown it, and you are showing it every day by developing new products, by developing new solutions, by keeping ahead of the events, and by anticipating the needs and producing the best products, anticipating what the consumers need, and keeping Europe leading. But the second thing, which is very important to grow and to innovate, is to do it in a sustainable way. It is not conceivable to grow in a way which is not sustainable. In the same way that you cannot conceive sustainability if you neglect the competitive effects. And this is what we are trying to do through the new industrial policy strategy, which the Commission adopted on the 12th of October, which is an effort to come with a comprehensive approach, with an approach which integrates innovation, which integrates sustainability, which integrates skills, and which tries to foster the policies in a coherent way, taking into account what is very important, which is the interaction with other policies, building on the internal market that we have, ensuring the compliance with sustainability, relying very heavily on standardization, and moving forward to having a stronger and more performant competitive industry for the service of our citizens. That's it.
Okay, that's a good start. Thank you very much. I'm going to bring in our other fresh face, Ad Jespers, who's Director of Global Regulatory Affairs in the Sealed Air Corporation. You're very much providing you're a service industry, global provider of sustainable packaging and hygiene solutions, and that's a growing area rather than just the products providing that service support. And it'd be interesting from your perspective just to get that sense about whether the sustainability challenge is being embedded within your sector, and whether maybe you are particularly well placed to be taking a leadership role in it.
Yeah, so this afternoon we heard very visionary stories on how we ourselves can take action to make a step. And having worked in the consumer products industry for more than 18 years myself, and just made the transition into the professional market, I really felt to the heart what difference that means for us. Because in the professional market, it is not so much like in the consumer world, where the individual consumer who is making the buying decision is far away and addressed. We are sitting with our customers on the table, really face to face, talking about money, because we can talk about 2015, 2020, but we also have to survive next year. And in this economic climate, it's quite hard to do that. So that's very much in line with what we see in these tenders. But at the same time, our customers supply the consumers, and they also feel the pressure to make a next step in making this world a better place. And indeed, we only have one world, so we have to take very big care out of it. The way we try to do that is to take the next step in those discussions and offer the longer term perspective. Because in many cases, when customers have to make the transition to more sustainable products that we offer, it's about a small investment to do this year to be better off in the coming years. And that's a day-to-day challenge we face there.
Okay, that's interesting. I just wonder, I've got a kind of high-level question that's rattling around. I mean, I attend a lot of events and activities and all the rest of it. And on this panel, we have represented key drivers in the business world and key people from the political and policy world. And I'm just interested, also because it's a slightly different conversation we're having today, just lifting that up. It feels as though we almost need some new ways of talking together, of collaborating to try and find a way through both the challenge of today but also the longer term sustainability issues. And I'm just interested, and maybe I'll come to you first, Commissioner, for a response. I just wonder, do you feel somehow that with the scale of the challenge, the need to connect all our resources positively together to find solutions, are you sensing that there maybe needs to be a new style of conversation between political and policy and regulatory structures and business? Because it does feel still as though there's a sense of adversarial, business says we want less red tape and more space to get on with it, and policy says, we need more of that. I just wonder whether you sense we're moving into a new era, and whether there are any particular messages for AISE as well as its companies that might guide us towards a more productive relationship.
Short answer would be yes.
And the medium-term, longer answer?
Yeah. No, I think that we are absolutely moving into the new era, but the level of understanding of the necessity that we are already moving in the new era, it's not entirely present. So believe me, the debate like I'm witnessing today, it's not the debate which is prevailing debate. And I think it would need to become the prevailing debate, otherwise we will run all together into serious problems. To try to give you an example, because I was before talking about this short-termism and long-termism story. If you ask today an environmentalist what is his wish, for example, when we talk about fishing, he would say, yeah, healthy fish stock and sustainable fishing. What is the wish of the fishermen? Sustainable fish stock and sustainable fishing. What else? But what is in essence happening in reality is 82 or more than 80% of fish is overfished, and the fishermen would of course have an interest to fish even the remaining that would be overfished. And what is happening in the other reality, of course, environmentalists would like to stop all the fishing. So that's the angle of short term and long term. And that's why we need to somehow recuperate our thoughts and put them into logic, which is actually putting us on a longer term track. My firm belief is that in 21st century we can simply not afford to think anymore with the way how we have in the past, because this is not something which goes together with the reality which we are seeing out there. Paul was talking about the fact of interconnectivity and so on. These are absolutely the things which did not happen 20, 30 years ago. And I'm the same believer of the power of social media. I think if we politicians will be ridiculous enough not to listen to public, and when some of the clear messages also from environmental side would come, which will point us in this direction, believe me, we will not have any more the possibility to ignore that.
And does that offer a particular message to trade business associations like AISE? I mean, is their day coming even more that they need to be part of that conversation?
Yeah, after hearing Paul, I think they are in, yeah. and that I was really encouraged by everything he was saying, because that's exactly what I would like to see. Of course, we don't want everything to be prescribed there, or I also believe that actually the leadership should come from the business. That's also my belief. Sometimes it's, I think that it's even so far that we from the politics who are normally living a bit behind the development would need not to create enough of the obstacles for the future, but in other cases it's just the opposite. So it's really the question, who is the critical mass, who is communicating with us political leaders and policy deliver. So I would really like that this voice, like you have heard today, would be more shared and would become a kind of an more prevailing voice of the business when it's communicated also to the policy leaders, because this is then the thing which absolutely moves the things into the right direction.
Okay, and I just wonder, maybe as a response, Paul, you looking into the whole policy, regulation, European world, if you had a kind of message, not just from, I mean, you're a major corporation, but you're part of a huge supply chain. This represents a huge range of small businesses as well. I just wonder whether you would have a message that might make it easier to make the productive connection with policy making and the political side for business, or whether it is as it is.
Is what it is. We shouldn't accept, obviously. Often, if you come to Brussels, I'm here about. Is this on?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's on. If you come to Brussels, or if lots of people don't come to Brussels because there are bigger challenges perhaps that they have in their daily jobs. I understand that, but if you come to Brussels, often business comes in too late when something is happening, and then it often results in complaining or trying to correct something which is already half baked. So my message has always been, be early on part of the solution. And what is very important here is when you talk about your, and that's for big and small, by the way, it's not just big companies. Because we have the same in big companies, by the way, where you have small countries and big countries. I always say it's the ideas that count, not the number of zeros behind it. You have to be careful there. So on partnership is very, very clear. It was Einstein who said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. It just doesn't work anymore. We have to work at a different level. But that, obviously, the biggest obstacle to that is trust. How do we create that trust? Companies like ours have taken a responsibility across the total supply chain, which often involves a lot of small companies, thousands and thousands of small companies. So increasingly they're part of it. There are many more small companies, by the way, in this world than big companies. Big companies can sometimes provide resources, umbrellas, confidence, can take some of the flag by going out there, which is a risk of some of the leadership that Mac is talking about, but increasingly we see more and more coalitions of smaller companies coming in as well. So I'm very encouraged with that. There also is a broader understanding at the global level. The Secretary General at the UN, his second mandate is absolutely talking about public-private partnerships. In Rio, as I talked about, 200 plus initiatives. Increasingly here in Brussels, and otherwise, you were the first ones to call for your resource efficiency task force. Otherwise, you just don't solve it anymore, and I think a lot of people have come to realize that. Now, where we need to spend more time, I believe, is obviously first is establishing some trust, because trust is on that base of partnership and prosperity ultimately, and we need to continue to build that by actions, not by words, and I think there's a lot to be done in today's world to build that. And the second thing is to create the right framework for us to be successful. Unfortunately or fortunately, the world still reacts a lot to the incentive systems that are built around us. And for example, all the things we talk today, if we don't value natural capital, or if we don't value social capital, we will never optimize it.
Okay.
So you need to change. If we don't create some longer-term frameworks, like Barnier is now working yourselves, and get out of this quarterly rat race of expectation management, we won't solve it. At Unilever, we stopped quarterly reporting, I stopped giving guidance, I changed my compensation systems, but few companies can do that or have that courage to do that. They are too exposed. We as big companies perhaps can take a little bit more of that risk, but we would like to see more of that happening. The natural capital declaration, for example, is a very important thing that we did in Rio. We want Europe to lead these things, and it actually helps in European competitiveness.
Right. I just wanted, Suzanne, I mean, are you, in holding together the association? I'm just wondering whether you're observing that there appears to be more opportunities for constructive dialogue. Maybe there have always been conversations, but it's whether you think there is value. Are you feeling that there's a greater sense of shared imperative to move forward?
I taking up from what Paul just saying people are coming not too often enough to Brussels. So I think the association has the beauty to be in Brussels, serving as a platform for this, as an added value, to build the partnership between industry itself. So as I was saying earlier, the network, to reach out to the next level. We don't sell the products as the individual companies doing themselves in terms of deliver, but we have the added value and giving the platform for working together, for the leadership to show their thoughts, to share it, and not only among industry, to go at the next to the value chain, right, to the stakeholder, and to reach out to all the politicians. And when we were waiting until the platforms or the panel started, Commissioner Potocny said we should invite Mac to one of our commission's meeting, and I said this would be great. So another value we could bring to the society and to the governments to think about. So I see a value and hope the business themselves see it when going home and working on their task to deliver the products.
All right. A movement marches on its coffee breaks, and we're almost there. But I just wondered whether there was anyone who wanted to offer either a short, incisive comment, observation, or question. Otherwise, what I'm going to do, if you feel, yes, I must, go like that. Otherwise, I've got a curved ball question to just finish off this section. Now, I'm going to come back. I'm going to go along the line. And we've heard some personal messages, some corporate messages, some policy messages. I just wonder, as we head towards biting into that biscuit and drinking that cup of tea in shared harmony in a few moments, if there was a message you would like to infect that tea time conversation and maybe the journey before. It may be a restatement of something you've already said, but maybe it's just that lifting a little bit further forward. Maybe something we weren't expecting you to say. There's no pressure. For this set of people who are primarily involved working in businesses, trying to do the right thing and keep the business profitable, within an association, AISE, which is a family trying to bring some coherence to the message and the activity, I just wonder what that final message you would leave ringing in our ears. And I think I'm going to start at the far end, if I could.
How many seconds do you want? How
You've
many
got a
words?
minute. You've got a minute.
I will say it in one word.
Okay.
Partnership. And I think it reflects what was being mentioned by Commissioner Potočnik and by our colleague Paul. They were mentioning the need for a new method of work. And I think we need to work more closely. We need to work in a more mature way. It's not the regulators coming in a top-down approach with new regulations, with new rules. It's a sense of leadership from the industry, behaving in a corporately, socially responsible way.
Okay.
Coming to Brussels, but coming with arguments.
Thank you very much. So your door is open very much for developing those partnerships and discussions. That's very encouraging. Jesper.
Yeah, my message would also be collaboration. So
You're going to have to think of something different, I guess, to you, hey? And you're not allowed to use the word leadership. Well, you might be able to. Anne.
But I did want to take another angle on it, because to do it together with the partners that you have, because it doesn't make sense when you are a trailblazer, shouting the big word far ahead, and the big community is not coming with you. Everything has to be done step by step. You need trailblazers to show where it can be done. Companies should have the big innovations that really kill the products of today. You need big innovations to stop the products that are more polluting and make the bigger step towards the future.
Okay, thank you very much. Mike.
I'd like to focus on the opportunity that is with us now. Every organisation hunts the discretionary part that people can give if they wish to, if they're inspired to give. And we provide all kinds of incentives and other things to try to get that bit. But you know, Greenpeace does not have to motivate its people. Its people are fired right there, and they will give actually more than they should, something that's unsustainable. The moment that we are able to construct our organizations and the purposes which drive our organizations that align with and activate the discretionary part that people wish to give, because they see an alignment between what they personally love and cherish with the organization's goals, we will unleash an inspired, innovative, sort of creative, passionate response that will bring us the objectives we need, and along the way, bring us the results that we want in our businesses.
Thank you for that. Suzanne.
Thank you. I would like to build on this leadership thing. I think we have all a responsibility to take up the leadership. It can be in different way. For me, it's talking together, thinking all together, so taking time. Sometimes it's just, I think each leader should at least take once in a month a moment of not being active, trying to be fire brigade, but to think ahead, to exchange it, and build then together for the next steps to do. So it's leadership for me is also taking a moment to think and to reflect together how to do it.
Okay, and maybe eat that biscuit very slowly as a prompt to that thoughtful moment. Commissioner.
Past experiences and today's reality in the economic sector is actually showing us that killing the industry with kindness, it's not the best policy. That's why, taking into account the transition to sustainable economy and society, it's inevitable. Help me, help us, providing leadership and answers, and nothing is wrong if you are making money out of that.
Thank you for that. And finally, Paul.
Yeah, this is an industry of, you were saying 625 members in every household in Europe, hundreds of thousands of people directly, indirectly working for us, billions and billions of product. So my wish is really that this industry sets the standard for what sustainable, equitable, and economically viable growth will look like. Now, there is no doubt that we have all the tools to do that, and that is in our hands. Someone reminded me that there are 2 moments in life to plant a tree. One is now, and the other one is 50 years ago. So let's get going.
Thank you very much. And why not AISE be seen to be globally the organisation that really got it and made that difference? So that's maybe our challenge. Okay, we'll be back in 10 years to check out on that one. Ladies and gentlemen, could I thank our panel? Could we all thank our panel very much for their contribution?